Hello folks, welcome back to my channel. When we were going through our little hot period when it was 35-40 degrees, I went out on a camp in my hooped bivvy, and I thought today that I'd show you around that hooped bivvy, how you put it up and what its features are and that sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully you'll join me to have a little look. My name's John and I make videos on camping, walking and astronomy. If you like what you see in this video, then please check my channel out, as you may find others that interest you there. But in the meantime, let's crack on with this video. So generally I don't do bivvy bag camping. I'm getting a bit long in the tooth now and like my creature comforts that I can get inside a tent, but sometimes it's just too hot to be in a tent, as it has been here for a month or so. And other times it's just a really nice experience. So I've got two bivvy bags. One's your kind of traditional British Army bivvy. I think that's made by Highlander, I'm not sure. And that's a kind of basically just a cover for your sleeping bag. And the other one is the OEX Salamander hooped bivvy. And originally I was going to go out in my kind of normal Highlander type bivvy, but then it occurred to me that it might be Midge City, so I preferred to go out in my hooped bivvy because that's got a kind of insect mesh and at least you can get out the way of the of all the insects. And in fact, the camp that I did on the South Downs a few weeks ago was a bit like that. There was no midges, but there was some quite big insects. They were almost like bees, but they bee-sized, but they weren't bees, and they insisted on dive bombing me. So yeah, I was quite glad to be in a hooped bivvy then. Anyway, I'll take you down to the local park now, and you can see how the bivvy's put up. So this is the bivvy in the pack that it comes with. It weighs about 1.2 something kilograms. The length of the bivvy is 225 centimeters and the width is 77.5, I think, centimeters at its widest point, and it comes up about 57 centimeters tall at its tallest point. So let's now open it up and see what's in the bag. There'll be some pegs, a single pole, and the actual bivvy itself. The pole is 7.9 millimeters diameter, so it's sort of reasonably thick but not particularly thick, and the pegs that you get are the kind of normal shepherd's hook type pegs. So the bivvy's a single skin. It's got a hydrostatic head of about 5,000 millimeters, and the base I think is 7,000 millimeters hydrostatic head with a denier of about 68, I think. So it's a reasonably sort of tough product. Anyway, let's get it put up. So the pole just threads into the sleeve. The sleeves here are very, very sturdy, I must say. And then you put the one end of the pole into the little eyelet on one side. Now we thread the pole in the eyelet on the other side. And that's basically your hoop done. And so now what we want to do is basically peg out the bivvy. So there's a couple of pegging points at the head end, and this has got like some sort of little rod in there. I don't know whether it's plastic or aluminium, but it's very light. But this just puts a bit of structure in. So we'll just stick that peg in. And we'll do the one on the other side. and then go and look at the foot end. the foot end's essentially similar. There are two pegging out points, but here we've got another rod. As I say, I don't know whether it's plastic or aluminium, but it's taller than the one on the other side. So again, you just peg those out. So now what we want to do is to make sure that the door and everything is all done up. Because it's doing up or having the door done up that gives structure to the bivvy and kind of readjust the position of the pegs. And what this will do is to bring the bivvy up. All you do now is fiddle around a little bit with the pegs and the pole in order to get things taut. And the same at the other end. And then at this point, having got the pole where we want it, we can stick a peg in a little loop there and one on the other side. So we've only got one more job to do, and that's to peg out this flap, because this flap covers some mesh here to allow some airflow into the tent. So we want to have the flap lifted up slightly. So in order to do that, we just peg it out. And that's basically it. The bivvy's now up. What I do quite like are these poles here, because it keeps the material off your legs, just, you know, stops it draping down over your legs at night. I'm always a bit dubious about that drawing moisture through. So let's just have a little look inside the bivvy. And what you've basically got is an outer door here and a mesh inner door, which opens up to reveal the inside of the bivvy. And there's a little toggle, if I don't drop it, that you can use to hold everything up. Equally, for me this is useful because what I tend to do at night is to leave the outer up. It's got its own little toggle, and then zip the mesh, stop all the insects getting in. And equally, it's this mesh panel here which allows like a nice amount of ventilation in the bivvy in conjunction with the bit of mesh at the other end, so you get a decent bit of through draft, which helps prevent condensation. Now I know some people make the point correctly that when the mesh and the outer are not zipped up, this tends to make the central pole sag a bit, which we'll see if I can duplicate. Yeah, it loses a little bit of rigidity, and so what they are suggesting doing, if you've done that, is that you could actually put a guy line on this loop here, running say down the centre or a couple off to the side, to put some more rigidity into that pole. There's a slight risk with that this isn't really meant to take load, so it could get damaged if suddenly there was a lot of load going through the guy line. But that's one potential solution if you find it a problem. I can't say I've found it a problem, to be honest. Space wise, I've found the inside to be quite cavernous. It's perfectly possible to use like a full size mat, a thick sleeping bag, and I basically get most of my gear inside here. And if I've got a biggish rucksack, I just leave it outside. But yeah, there's kind of space either at your head end here or at the feet end. You could probably cram a small rucksack in there if you wanted to. But it's quite nice to sleep in this up this end, looking up through the mesh, and you can read and all that sort of thing. It really is quite nice. So the big thing about bivvy bags really is condensation. Because they're single skin, you're always running the risk of condensation in them. I've only spent maybe, I think, 3 nights in this, and I can't say I've suffered over much from condensation. It does exist on the inside, that's for sure. But I think because I only tend to use it when the weather's really good, and I have this end of the tent open with just the mesh, that maximises the through flow of air. So yeah, I've not really suffered from it, I must say. So I've spent 3 nights in the OEX Salamander Bivvy so far. 2 were in my back garden when it was too hot to sleep indoors, and 1 was on the South Downs. In all instances, it would have been too hot to have spent the night in a tent. I got a lot of ventilation through the bivvy because I had basically the head end shell rolled up open and the insect mesh rolled down, so the air could travel from the hole in the foot end through the tent and out through the head end. And that's one of the reasons I didn't get very much condensation. I think that if you sealed yourself in that bivvy, so you zip the outer down completely, I do reckon it will be a condensation trap. There's just nowhere for your breath to escape, really. So that's not something I shall be planning on doing. But for me, as I say, I like the comfort of tents by and large, and I only bivvy when it's too hot to be in a tent. Having said that, I really enjoyed the time I've spent in it, and it is really nice when you wake up and you can look up through the insect mesh and see the moon and the stars and whatnot above you. That's in fact really nice. So yeah, I did enjoy my time in the OEX Salamander, and I look forward to using it again. Mine came from Go Outdoors, and it was £120. But yeah, so overall I'm quite pleased with the OEX Salamander. It's certainly got a place in my tent collection. I enjoyed the looking out at the open air. I enjoyed the lightness of it and the small pack size. So yeah, overall I'm very pleased with it. And my next trip out is actually going to be in going to the other extreme, my Hilleberg solo tent. And although it's a winter tent, I'm going to test it out in summertime conditions just to see what it's like to live in, just on the downs again. And in about a month's time, 6 weeks time, I'm off to the Lake District for a week, staying in a cottage, but I'm planning on getting a couple of decent hill walks in while I'm there. So I shall hopefully be able to take you along for those, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.